Let's be honest for a second. How many times have you heard phrases like, "Just stay positive, you can be anything you want," or "Never give up on your dreams"? Probably more times than you can count. It's all around us, this relentless wave of feel-good advice that promises if you just think happy thoughts, everything in your life will fall into place. But what if that's all just noise? What if the secret to living a better life isn't about trying to be happier, more successful, or more liked, but about caring less? What if the real path to peace, fulfillment, and meaning is found not by adding more goals, more affirmations, more hustle, but by subtracting? By learning how to stop giving a fuck about things that don't matter? That's exactly the gut-punch truth behind The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, a book that doesn't try to motivate you with fantasy. It dares you to wake up to reality. Written by Mark Manson, a former rock musician turned self-help rebel, this book isn't here to coddle you. Mark built his voice online, not by telling people what they wanted to hear, but by hitting them with the truth, raw, sometimes harsh, but always real. He saw a world drowning in entitlement, perfectionism, and endless comparisons, and he knew it was time to shake things up. Released in September 2016, this book didn't just hit the bestseller lists. It bulldozed its way onto them and stayed there for years. Why? Because people were hungry for something different. Tired of sugar-coated advice. Tired of pretending. Tired of trying to be enough. Mark Manson's philosophy is simple, but it hits hard. You have a limited number of fucks to give in this life, so make sure you're giving them to things that actually matter. That means letting go of chasing constant happiness. That means embracing struggle, failure, even pain, because those things, those real things, are the foundation of a meaningful life. And it's not just about being tough or cynical. This book doesn't teach you how to stop caring about everything. It teaches you how to care better. How to put your energy, your heart, your time, into things that align with your values, not society's, not your parents', not the internet's. In today's world, where anxiety is through the roof, where social media has turned life into a constant performance, and where we're expected to have it all figured out, this book shows up like a brutally honest best friend. The kind who doesn't pat you on the back, but shakes you by the shoulders and says, "You're wasting your life worrying about the wrong things." The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is raw, it's funny, it's uncomfortable at times, but that's exactly the point. It's not here to help you win the game of life. It's here to teach you that maybe, just maybe, it's the game itself that's the problem. And once you stop playing it, once you stop giving a fuck about impressing others, about being perfect, about never failing, that's when you're finally free to live a life that's real, grounded, and unapologetically your own. So if you're ready to stop pretending, if you're tired of chasing a version of success that feels fake, and you're open to learning a new kind of freedom, then this journey is for you. Let's begin with Chapter 1, Don't Try. Mark Manson starts the book with a story that instantly flips the typical self-help formula upside down. The story of Charles Bukowski, a washed-up alcoholic, a man who lived a rough, self-destructive life. For decades, he bounced between low-wage jobs, gambling, drinking, and getting rejected by publishers. Then, at the age of 50, he finally got a book deal. He went on to become a successful poet and novelist. But here's the punchline: Bukowski didn't believe in hope. He didn't believe in self-improvement. In fact, the words that were printed on his gravestone were brutally simple. Don't try. Now that might sound like the most backwards, depressing life advice you've ever heard, but Manson's point isn't about giving up. It's about being honest, brutally honest, with yourself. The idea is this: trying too hard to be something you're not, chasing success for the wrong reasons, constantly comparing yourself to everyone else. It just leads to more misery. Because when you're always trying to be something, what you're really doing is reinforcing this message deep in your mind. I'm not enough. Bukowski didn't succeed because he tried to become a great writer. He succeeded because he embraced who he already was. He leaned into his flaws, his dark humor, his real voice, and he wrote from that place. He didn't pretend to be a polished, perfect person. He owned his mess. And in doing that, he connected with the world in a way that was raw, real, and powerful. Mark Manson is saying, stop trying so hard to be great in the way the world defines it. Stop chasing this imaginary ideal of success or happiness. Because that constant chase is exhausting. It keeps you stuck. And it makes you blind to the fact that you are already enough to live a meaningful life, right now, as you are. But this doesn't mean you shouldn't improve or grow. What it means is, stop improving yourself out of self-hatred. Start improving yourself out of self-respect. You see, so much of our culture is about chasing the next high. We're told we have to be amazing, extraordinary, world-changing, or we're nothing. But Mark flips that idea and tells us, it's okay to be average. Most of us are average. That's not a bad thing, it's just reality. And when you accept that, when you stop needing to be special, you free yourself from the pressure that's been killing your joy and your peace. This first chapter is like a slap in the face, but the kind that wakes you up. It forces you to question. What are you trying so hard to be? Who are you doing it for? And is any of it actually making you feel fulfilled? Because when you stop giving a fuck about being amazing and start giving a fuck about being real, that's when your life actually starts to shift. Next is Chapter 2. Happiness is a problem. Imagine this. You've been told all your life that happiness is the goal, that if you get everything right, the perfect career, the perfect body, the perfect life, then happiness will just fall into your lap. Sounds like the dream, right? But here's the brutal truth. That's not how it works. Happiness, Mark Manson argues, is not some mythical destination. It's a problem. It's something you have to actively choose to face, not avoid. Most people think happiness is about avoiding pain, or worse, escaping from it. But in reality, happiness isn't about a life free of struggle. It's about learning to solve problems, about figuring out what meaningful challenges you want to take on. Because here's the kicker. Every choice you make, every path you take, every goal you strive for, is going to come with problems. You can't avoid them. What really matters is which problems you decide are worth your time. Manson doesn't hold back. He says that, just like everyone else, you're going to face obstacles, challenges, and failures. That's the truth of life. So, rather than trying to dodge every discomfort or run away from every tough situation, you need to decide, which struggles are worth it? Which problems are you willing to face? Because the truth is, the problems that matter are the ones that bring you growth, purpose, and meaning. Think about it. No one gets a free pass. Even the people we admire, the successful, the famous, the accomplished, they're not free of pain or hardship. They've just learned to embrace problems that align with their values, the things that truly matter to them. That's the big difference between those who feel stuck and those who feel fulfilled. Mark uses a powerful example. Think about someone going to therapy. Therapy isn't about finding some magic cure or removing all your emotional pain. It's about facing your past, acknowledging your flaws, and choosing to work through it. That's the real work. The same goes for anything in life. You don't solve problems by wishing them away, but by accepting them, embracing them, and learning how to navigate them. What Manson is really saying is this: you'll never have a life without problems. It's impossible. But the key is learning to pick the right problems. And the only way you can choose the right ones is by knowing what's truly important to you. What are your values? What do you care about deeply enough to struggle for? Because once you identify that, those problems won't feel like burdens. They'll feel like part of your journey, like challenges that lead to growth. And let's be real. That's the kind of happiness that matters. It's not about living a life free of struggle. It's about solving meaningful, worthwhile problems that push you to become the best version of yourself. It's about learning to love the right problems, the ones that align with who you are and who you want to be. So ask yourself, what problems are you willing to deal with? What are you willing to struggle for? Because that's where your happiness lies. The struggle is not the enemy. It's the path to meaning, growth, and true satisfaction. Mark Manson shatters the illusion that we can be happy without effort. Happiness isn't about avoiding pain, It's about choosing what pain is worth your time. Once you get that, the whole game changes. Let's dive into Chapter 3, You Are Not Special. Picture this. You've been told your whole life that you are meant for greatness. You've heard it in speeches, in self-help books, in every motivational quote plastered on social media. You're special, you're unique, you're destined to do amazing things, and if you just believe hard enough, the universe will bend to your will. It sounds nice, doesn't it? But Mark Manson is about to challenge everything you've ever believed about that idea. In this chapter, Manson does something that might seem harsh at first, but in the long run, it's incredibly freeing. He tells you, straight up, you are not special. And trust me, it stings at first. No one wants to hear that. We all want to believe that we are destined for something extraordinary. We all want to feel like we're unique, that we deserve special treatment because, well, we're different from everyone else. But Manson's point isn't that you don't matter. It's that the world isn't revolving around you, and you don't need to be exceptional to lead a meaningful life. This chapter isn't about diminishing your worth. It's about releasing the pressure to be perfect. You see, when you think you're special, there's a constant weight that comes with it. The need to prove it. The need to stand out. The need to be exceptional at everything you do. But here's the problem, it's exhausting. And more importantly, it's unrealistic. Mark Manson doesn't want you to be extraordinary in every way. He wants you to embrace the fact that you're average in most areas of life, and that's perfectly fine. Actually, it's liberating. When you stop chasing greatness in every aspect of your existence, you free yourself from the never-ending race to measure up. It's like Manson is telling you, it's okay to be ordinary. It's okay to be like everyone else in a lot of ways. When you finally embrace this, you can stop worrying about being better than everyone else, and start focusing on what truly matters to you. It's when you let go of the constant need to stand out that you finally begin to understand what it means to live authentically. Mark argues that, in our culture today, we've been so conditioned to chase status and admiration that we forget what really gives us meaning. The idea of being special has become a trap. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others, trying to measure up to some impossible standard. And in the process, we miss the point. The truth is, no matter how much we try, we can't all be exceptional in everything. But that doesn't mean we're failures. It means we have the freedom to be ourselves without the crushing pressure to always be better than the next person. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't about giving up or being passive. Manson isn't saying you should stop trying to improve. What he's saying is that we should be real about our strengths and weaknesses. We need to stop chasing some idealized version of ourselves and embrace the person we really are. And once you do that, once you accept that you're not destined to be the best at everything, you'll find a sense of peace in letting go of the idea that you're somehow less than others. Here's the secret that Manson reveals in this chapter. Once you accept that you're not special, you free yourself from the exhausting need to prove it. You can let go of the pressure of perfection and focus on what truly matters. You can stop measuring your worth by the things you accomplish or the accolades you collect. Instead, you focus on what makes you feel fulfilled and alive, what brings you genuine joy and purpose. Manson's message here is so simple, yet so powerful. By accepting your ordinariness, you release yourself from the hamster wheel of comparison and competition. You no longer have to pretend to be something you're not. Instead, you can embrace your flaws, your imperfections, and your authentic self. So, if you've ever found yourself stressed out, constantly measuring your worth by how special you are or how much better you are than someone else, then this chapter is a game changer. The sooner you let go of the need to be exceptional, the sooner you can start living a life that actually feels fulfilling. Next is Chapter 4, The Value of Suffering. Alright, let's get real for a second. Life is tough. It's filled with challenges, obstacles, disappointments, and struggles. And here's the kicker, no matter how hard we try, we can't escape this reality. We can't avoid the pain, the heartbreak, the frustration that inevitably comes with being human. But Mark Manson, in this chapter, flips this on its head and gives you something radically different to consider. What if suffering wasn't something to avoid, but something to lean into? What if, instead of running from our struggles, We embrace them as a necessary part of our journey. Manson argues that suffering is inevitable. We all experience it, whether it's from things we choose or things that just happen to us. But here's the real twist: it's not the suffering itself that defines us. It's how we respond to it. You see, the key to living a fulfilling life isn't in running from pain or trying to protect ourselves from discomfort. It's about choosing the right suffering. The kind of suffering that aligns with your values, your purpose, and what matters most to you. Think about it. Suffering is going to show up in your life whether you want it to or not. So, instead of wishing it away, why not choose suffering that serves you? Whether it's the struggle of building a career, the challenge of a difficult relationship, or the discomfort of facing your own fears and insecurities, this is the stuff that gives life meaning. Manson says that if you're going to suffer, which you will, you might as well choose something that's worth the pain. Manson brings up a fascinating point. The things we care about, the things we value, they all come with their own kind of suffering. Want to build a successful career? It's going to take long hours, hard work, and a lot of sacrifices. Want to have a deep, meaningful relationship? It's going to require emotional vulnerability, compromise, and sometimes heartbreak. Even the most fulfilling parts of life come with their own struggles. So instead of wishing for a life free of pain, Manson invites us to consider, what kind of suffering are you willing to endure? The idea here is that your suffering is an unavoidable part of your story. But you have the power to choose which pain is worth it. The right kind of suffering is the one that moves you toward your goals, your dreams, and your true self. The wrong kind of suffering? That's the suffering that comes from living inauthentically, from chasing someone else's dream, or from avoiding the things that matter most. Manson also talks about how people often try to avoid pain by seeking pleasure. But here's the problem: running after endless pleasure only leads to more dissatisfaction. The pursuit of constant comfort and instant gratification? It's a trap. The more you chase easy pleasure, the more it slips through your fingers, leaving you empty. Instead, Manson suggests that the real path to fulfillment is choosing meaningful suffering, the kind that challenges you, makes you grow, and gives you purpose. What if the key to happiness wasn't about avoiding pain or hardship but about learning to choose the right struggles? What if we stopped trying to live pain-free lives and instead embraced challenges that would help us evolve into better, stronger versions of ourselves? The message here is profound. Suffering is part of life. But it's the type of suffering you choose that shapes your life's meaning. The more aligned your suffering is with your deepest values, the more it will contribute to a sense of fulfillment and purpose. In a world that constantly tells us to avoid pain and chase pleasure, Mark Manson flips the script. The truth is, it's not about avoiding suffering, it's about choosing the suffering that will make your life richer and more meaningful. Once you realize that pain isn't something to fear, but something that helps you grow, everything changes. Let's dive into Chapter 5, You Are Always Choosing. In this chapter, Mark Manson drops another powerful truth: everything in your life is a result of choices you've made. This chapter gets to the heart of personal responsibility, challenging you to look at your life and realize just how much control you have, whether you know it or not. It's time to take a hard look in the mirror because this chapter is all about personal responsibility. You might not want to hear it, but the truth is, everything that's happening in your life right now is a direct result of the choices you've made, whether you realize it or not. From the relationships you're in, to your career, to how you spend your time, everything comes down to the decisions you've chosen or avoided. Now, this isn't to say that everything in life is under your control. Bad things happen. Life throws curveballs. But Manson argues that, no matter what happens to us, we always have a choice in how we respond. And here's the kicker. Even when you think you're not choosing, you're still choosing. That's because when you avoid making a decision, or when you let someone else make the decision for you, you're still making a choice. And it's a choice that leads to where you are today. Manson goes on to explain that this concept of choice is one of the most empowering things you can understand. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that life is happening to you, that you're a passive observer of your own story. But the reality is, you're the author. You're the one deciding how to respond, how to act, and how to create meaning in your life. This is the power of choice, whether you own it or not. What Manson challenges you to do in this chapter is to stop playing the victim. Stop blaming your circumstances, your past, or other people for where you are today. Because when you take responsibility for your choices, you take back your power. You stop waiting for life to give you permission to act, and you start owning your decisions, even the tough ones. He dives into the idea of values-based choices, a concept that's a game-changer. What does that mean? It means that when you choose based on your core values, you make decisions that are aligned with what truly matters to you. This is where it gets profound. Many of us make choices based on what we think we should do, what society tells us is important, or what we're supposed to want. But when you make choices based on your values, that's where real meaning comes in. It's about saying, "This is the person I want to be, and this is the life I want to live," and then choosing accordingly. O touches on the hard truth that there's no such thing as a no-lose choice. Every decision comes with its own set of trade-offs. When you choose one thing, you're inherently saying no to something else. That's life. There are no perfect options, no perfect outcomes. But the important part is owning your choices and accepting responsibility for them. Every decision, big or small, comes with its consequences. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you can move forward in a meaningful way. This chapter is all about taking ownership. When you realize that you are always choosing, you stop waiting for things to change on their own, and you take proactive steps toward the life you want. It's about understanding that you have the power to shape your future with every decision you make. Even in the toughest situations, you can choose how you respond, and that's the ultimate freedom. At the end of the day, the life you have is a result of the choices you've made, and if you want something different, you have the power to choose differently. This concept gives you a sense of control and clarity, because once you recognize that you are always choosing, you can stop blaming circumstances and start making intentional, meaningful decisions. Next is Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything, but so am I. We all like to think we have things figured out, right? We all believe our perceptions of the world, our values, and the way we see ourselves are spot on. But in this chapter, Mark Manson gets brutally honest. Most of the things we think we know are wrong. And guess what? We're all wrong in some way or another. Manson starts by highlighting a core principle. We live our lives based on the beliefs we hold about the world. These beliefs shape the way we see everything from relationships to career choices to our own identity. The catch? We don't know what's true, we can't. There's always something we're missing, something we've misunderstood, and something that's just out of our reach. So, what do we do with this uncomfortable reality? We stop taking our beliefs so seriously and allow for the possibility that they could be wrong. Here's the thing, we all hold beliefs, whether we're conscious of them or not, that we live by. These beliefs, many of which we've carried with us since childhood, determine our actions and thoughts. But as Manson points out, beliefs are not facts. Beliefs are just thoughts we've chosen to believe. And as we grow and experience life, those beliefs often get challenged. Our views on money, success, love, and happiness don't always hold up to scrutiny. The more we hold on to those beliefs stubbornly, the more we close ourselves off to learning, growth, and new perspectives. This chapter is a challenge. Manson dares us to consider the possibility that many of the things we hold dear, our values, our priorities, even our understanding of ourselves, could be wrong. He argues that the only way to grow, to improve, and to live an authentic life is to admit that we don't have all the answers. The best we can do is keep questioning, keep learning, and keep evolving. Manson goes on to explain that embracing this uncertainty, this acknowledgement that we don't know it all, creates a powerful shift in our mindset. It frees us from the need to be right all the time. Instead, we become more open to change, more willing to listen, and more capable of navigating the complexities of life. For example, let's talk about success. We've all been taught that success equals wealth, fame, or status. But the truth is, success is a deeply personal concept. What one person values, another might dismiss. The key is not in accumulating more or being right about what success looks like, but in defining success for ourselves. When we give up the need to be right about what success means, we free ourselves to create our own path. Manson also touches on how this mentality affects our relationships. When we refuse to acknowledge that we might be wrong, we often clash with others. If we hold on to the idea that our version of the truth is the only one that matters, it can create tension and misunderstanding. Instead of clinging to the certainty of our beliefs, Manson encourages us to listen and learn from the people around us. Everyone has a different perspective, and by being open to those perspectives, we become better equipped to navigate life with empathy and understanding. By the end of this chapter, Manson wants us to embrace a more flexible, open-minded approach to life. We don't need to have everything figured out. In fact, being wrong can be an essential part of growth. The more we can admit that we don't know everything, the more we can learn and evolve. It's not about being right all the time, it's about being open to what the world can teach us. Let's dive into Chapter 7, Failure is the Way Forward. This chapter is all about reframing failure and using it as a powerful tool for growth. Manson challenges our fear of failure and shifts our perspective on what it means to fall short. Let's explore how failure, rather than being something to fear, is actually the key to success. We've all heard it before: failure is bad, failure is to be avoided, and if we fail, something is wrong with us. But Mark Manson flips this narrative on its head in Chapter 7. Instead of seeing failure as something to fear, Manson argues that failure is, in fact, the way forward. It's not just a possibility, it's a necessary part of the process. Manson starts by acknowledging that failure is something we all experience, whether we like it or not. And yet, for many of us, failure can feel like the end of the road. It's easy to get discouraged, especially when we fail at something that we care deeply about. But here's where Manson brings in a critical point: failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of success. He argues that success isn't about avoiding failure, it's about learning how to fail well and use it as a stepping stone. Rather than seeing failure as a sign of defeat or incompetence, Manson suggests we start viewing failure as a teacher. When we fail, we get an opportunity to learn something we didn't know before. It's through failure that we often discover our limits, refine our strategies, and develop resilience. Without failure, we would never experience the growth that comes from pushing past our comfort zones and learning from our mistakes. Manson goes on to explain that the fear of failure often holds us back from taking the risks necessary to achieve anything meaningful. We become paralyzed by the thought of failing, so we play it safe and avoid pursuing our passions or dreams. The problem with this mindset is that by avoiding failure, we're also avoiding growth. Manson emphasizes that every successful person has failed multiple times before reaching their goal. Whether it's Thomas Edison failing thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, or Michael Jordan being cut from his high school basketball team, failure is a prerequisite for success. This chapter also addresses the importance of embracing our mistakes. When we fail, it's easy to get discouraged and start beating ourselves up. But Manson challenges us to take responsibility for our failures and recognize them as part of the learning process. By accepting our mistakes instead of denying them, we free ourselves from shame and guilt. Failure becomes something we can learn from, not something that defines us. Manson also talks about the role of choice in failure. He explains that failure isn't random, it's often a result of the choices we make. And while we can't always control the outcome of our choices, we can control how we respond to failure. Do we let it crush us, or do we choose to see it as an opportunity to grow and try again? The key is in how we frame failure and how we choose to learn from it. One of the most important lessons in this chapter is that the more we fail, the more we grow. Failure doesn't mean we're bad or incapable. It means we're human, and we're on the path to growth. Manson encourages us to embrace failure with open arms because it's the only way we can get better at what we do. By failing often, we build resilience and wisdom, both of which are essential for long-term success. By the end of the chapter, Manson wants us to understand that failure is not only inevitable, it's necessary. It's the price we pay for progress, and it's the foundation on which success is built. So, instead of fearing failure, we should lean into it and see it as a sign that we're pushing ourselves to do something meaningful. Let's move on to Chapter 8, The Importance of Saying No. In this chapter, Mark Manson dives deep into the art of setting boundaries and why it's essential to our well-being and happiness. Let's take a look at how saying no can transform our lives. If you've ever found yourself overwhelmed by too many commitments, people demanding your time, or trying to please everyone around you, this chapter is for you. Mark Manson takes a close look at one of the most powerful yet often overlooked skills in life: saying no. It's a small word, but it can have a huge impact on our lives. We live in a world where saying yes is often seen as the polite or right thing to do. We're taught to be agreeable, helpful, and accommodating. But Manson argues that this tendency to say yes all the time is one of the biggest reasons we find ourselves stressed, drained, and stuck in situations that don't align with our true priorities. The truth is, saying yes to everything can actually hold us back from living the life we truly want. Manson starts by highlighting a simple truth: we all have limited time and energy. We can't do everything, and we certainly can't do everything well. When we stretch ourselves too thin by agreeing to every request or invitation, we're spreading ourselves out in a way that prevents us from focusing on the things that really matter. This is where saying no becomes crucial. By learning to decline certain things, we create the space to focus on what truly aligns with our values and goals. With our priorities, the more we get in touch with what truly matters to us. This clarity makes it easier to make decisions that move us closer to our goals. It helps us stop wasting time on things that won't bring us fulfillment or progress. Manson goes on to explain that saying no isn't about being rude or rejecting people. It's about protecting our time, our energy, and our mental health. When we say no to things that don't serve us, we're actually saying yes to ourselves. We're choosing to prioritize our own well-being, goals, and values over other people's demands. This isn't selfish, it's necessary for our growth and happiness. In this chapter, Manson also addresses the fear many people have of saying no, especially the fear of disappointing others. We've all been there. A friend asks us to do something we don't want to do, or a colleague wants us to take on more work. And the thought of saying no makes us feel guilty or afraid that we'll let someone down. But Manson emphasizes that this fear is based on a false belief that we're responsible for other people's happiness or success. We are not responsible for everyone's feelings, and by saying no when we need to, we're teaching others to respect our boundaries. Another key point Manson makes is that saying no helps us get clear on our values. The more we say no to things that don't align us. As Manson puts it, if you don't know what your priorities are, someone else will impose theirs on you. Manson also talks about the fear of missing out, FOMO, that can come with saying no. We might fear that by turning down an opportunity, we're missing out on something better. But Manson reframes this by suggesting that saying no is actually a way of saying yes to better opportunities. Every time we say no to something that doesn't align with our values, we're opening up space for something that does. Saying no isn't a rejection of life. It's a way of reclaiming control over what we allow into our lives. In conclusion, Manson urges us to start practicing the art of saying no. It's not about rejecting others or being selfish. It's about protecting our time, our energy, and our mental health so that we can fully invest in the things that truly matter to us. Saying no is an act of self-respect and self-love. And when we say no to things that don't serve us, we create more room for the things that bring us fulfillment, joy, and purpose. Let's continue with Chapter 9. And then you die. This chapter tackles one of the most inevitable and universally uncomfortable topics: death. Mark Manson challenges us to confront the reality of our mortality and explore how this awareness can help us live more meaningfully. Let's dive into it. Death is something none of us can avoid. We all know it's coming, but how often do we really think about it? How often do we allow the reality of our own mortality to influence the way we live? In this chapter, Manson takes us through the uncomfortable but necessary process of confronting death head-on. He suggests that by fully accepting the fact that we will die, we can begin to live more authentically and intentionally. Manson starts by highlighting an essential truth: our time on this earth is limited. We only have so many days, so many hours, and so many moments. Yet, we often live as though we have all the time in the world. We put things off, we avoid difficult conversations, we settle for the status quo, and we get distracted by insignificant details. But the reality is, none of us know when our time will run out. That's why Manson urges us to face the harsh truth of our mortality. It's the only way to stop wasting time and start living with purpose. By confronting death, Manson argues that we can get a clearer sense of what really matters. When we acknowledge that life is fleeting, we begin to realize how precious and finite our time truly is. This can be incredibly liberating. It forces us to prioritize the things that truly matter: our relationships, our passions, and the goals we genuinely care about. When we embrace the fact that death is inevitable, we are freed from the illusion that we have endless time to accomplish everything. We stop procrastinating, we stop making excuses, and we start acting on what truly matters to us. Manson also discusses the idea of legacy. When people think about their lives in the context of death, they often worry about what they'll leave behind: a legacy of success, wealth, or recognition. But Manson suggests that the real legacy we leave isn't necessarily in the tangible things we accumulate or the accolades we collect. It's in the people we touch, the impact we have on those we love, and the way we choose to live each day. He reminds us that what we do today is what we will be remembered for. This chapter also brings us face to face with the reality that death doesn't discriminate. No one knows when or how it will come. Manson argues that it's this uncertainty that makes life all the more precious. He challenges us to stop waiting for the perfect time to live our best life. If we're always postponing our dreams, always thinking we'll do it tomorrow, we're missing out on the opportunity to live fully today. The truth is, tomorrow is never promised, so the best time to act is now. By acknowledging death, we also free ourselves from the fear of it. Death is often a source of anxiety and dread, but Manson suggests that when we fully accept it as part of life, we can let go of the fear that holds us back. We stop fearing failure or rejection because we realize that these things are small in comparison to the inevitability of death. When you live with the understanding that your time is limited, suddenly, the little worries that once felt so significant don't seem so important anymore. Manson encourages us to stop waiting for life to give us permission to live boldly. Death is the ultimate reminder that we can't afford to wait. We have to live authentically now, not when it's convenient, or when we've figured everything out. Life is happening now, and it's up to us to make the most of it. By the end of this chapter, Manson makes a profound point: living with the awareness of death makes life more meaningful. It's not about fearing death. It's about using it as a catalyst for living more fully, more purposefully, and with greater clarity. When we embrace our mortality, we begin to understand that life is not about avoiding death. It's about making the most of the time we have left. As we reach the end of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, the central theme becomes clear: life is too short to care about everything. Mark Manson isn't here to tell you to be careless or indifferent. Instead, he's challenging you to ask yourself, what truly deserves your attention, your time, and your energy? In a world where we're bombarded with endless expectations, distractions, and opinions, Manson offers a refreshing perspective. Not everything is worth caring about, and that's okay. The biggest takeaway from this book is that we have control over what we care about. And the beauty of that control is that it can be freeing. We don't have to obsess over every little failure, every comment, or every expectation placed on us by society. Manson invites us to focus on the things that truly matter, the things that bring us joy, fulfillment, and meaning. He reminds us that it's not about trying to avoid pain, but about choosing what kind of pain we're willing to endure, because in every pursuit, there's a challenge. Manson's philosophy is about embracing responsibility for your choices. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. This level of personal responsibility is empowering. It shifts the focus from blaming external circumstances to recognizing that your choices shape your reality. It's all about taking ownership of your life and, in doing so, choosing to care about the right things. One of the most powerful ideas in the book is the idea of values. Our values are the foundation for what we care about. If we don't know what we value, we end up caring about things that don't truly serve us. Manson urges us to dig deep and figure out what really matters to us. Our values will shape our actions, our decisions, and ultimately the direction of our lives. Without them, we're adrift in a sea of other people's opinions and expectations. Manson also takes aim at the cultural obsession with success and happiness. He challenges the idea that we should always strive for more success, more wealth, more happiness. Instead, he asks us to consider what we're willing to sacrifice. Success comes with its own set of challenges, and happiness isn't something you find at the end of the rainbow. It's something you cultivate by accepting life's imperfections and learning to care about what truly matters. This book is a wake-up call. It's a reminder that life isn't about chasing an endless series of achievements or accumulating praise from others. It's about finding the courage to live authentically, to care deeply about the things that align with your true self, and to let go of everything else. The true art of not giving a fuck lies in being selective with what you care about, accepting life's inherent messiness, and embracing the fact that we all have limited time. So, as you close the pages of this book, remember that you don't have to give a fuck about everything. Choose wisely what you invest your energy in. Let go of perfection, stop seeking validation, and recognize that some struggles are worth it, because they align with your deepest values. At the end of the day, the only thing that truly matters is that you live your life on your own terms. Life is short, and time is precious. What are you going to do with yours? That concludes our journey through the subtle art of not giving a fuck. I hope this summary has helped you gain insights into the book's core messages and inspired you to apply them to your life. Keep questioning what you care about, and keep living authentically, because at the end of the day, that's what really makes a difference. If you found this summary insightful and valuable, don't forget to show your support by subscribing to the Mindful Brief on YouTube. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this audiobook summary, share it with your peers, friends, or family who might benefit from it, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. Your engagement helps us create more in-depth and valuable content for you. Stay tuned for more summaries, insights, and strategies to elevate your knowledge and career. Subscribe now and be part of the journey.